Yeah, and that's pretty much the hardest part of digital technology is that. Some terminology. We talk about bits as binary digits. That's what that stands for. It's a digit, but it's a binary digit. We call it a bit. If you have 8 of them together, we call that a byte. So it gets you hungry, I guess, at lunchtime. And then if you put 4 bytes together, we call that a word. And that's 32 bits. Although sometimes people call 8 bytes to be a word. Sorry. So that's just terminology. Analog and digital signals. Why CDs and other things work? Normally, in the old world, we have analog signals that could vary with almost infinite precision. And then you need equipment, of course, that can handle that infinite precision. Now, what people do for digital technology is they actually sample that signal at a very regular rate. So maybe 8,000 times a second or 10,000 times a second. Sorry. So it's sampled very regularly, and then it's not allowed to take any infinite number of levels. It can only take a certain set number of levels. And you choose the level that it goes up to, but not going over. So for instance, you choose like this level here, this level here, sorry, this level here, depending on where you are. And so you're not really recreating the signal exactly, but you're getting close to it. This signal is getting digitized. And so we're losing some information. What will help you keep as much information as possible is that you sample it very quickly. So the more times you sample, the better your signal will be, your digital signal. And the more digits you have to record the number, the better signal you'll have. For instance, in a telephone network, it's sampled 8,000 times per second, and they use 8 bits. And with 8 bits, you can have 256 levels. And that's why when you're talking to somebody on the phone, it doesn't sound exactly like you're actually talking to them. It sounds kind of funny. If you're talking about CD quality, that's sampled 44,000 times per second and uses 16 bits. 16 bits give you 65,000 different levels. So you're getting much better, finer gradation, and so you can have a much truer signal closer to the original. So that's what we have for that. Right, and so I think I said all this right. Oh, and yeah, so this would be like the equivalent, the digital equivalent of that analog signal that I was just showing. Okay, different means of storage. What's the advantages of storing things in digital format? Different ways of storing it. The better the equipment, the more expensive it is. Ways to store sound. You have LP records. I don't know if you guys have ever seen any of these. Also magnetic tapes, audio reels. People store images on films. These are analog. Different formats of film. And the problems with the analog is that it kind of degrades over time. And then if your playback machine breaks, you're kind of out of luck. For digital, there are lots of different ways of converting that signal into a digital signal and then storing that, just the bits. And we don't store decimal digits, we store binary digits. And these are various formats. I guess you have to worry about formats becoming outdated or superseded. The whole reason of using digital, the main reason, is that if you have to duplicate an analog signal, that's really hard to do well. because you need equipment that functions well, you need to sort of keep it in tune. This is hard to do well. But if you want to copy digital information, that's a lot easier because there are only two choices. It could be 0 or 1. And even if the signal that you're trying to copy doesn't quite look like that, it's easier to distinguish a 0 from a 1. So for instance here, even though it doesn't quite look nice and square, if you have properly functioning digital equipment, it'll say, oh, this was meant to be a 1. And so it's a lot easier to distinguish zeros and ones. And that's why digital information, you can make lots of copies of digital information. Whereas if you're doing that in an analog fashion, you could start to get a lot of hiss or noise in the copies. Make sense? You guys good? Questions? Okay. Yeah, we're just storing more and more information. Who knows what the hell we're going to do with it? They said that we have more information, that if we stored it on CDs, it would go past the moon. What do you do with this? I don't know. The last bit of that you guys need to know about that I'm going to talk about today are CDs. And CDs, that's used all the time, I'm sure.